I still remember that night 5 years ago, driving to my parents' house for the family dinner, my stomach tied in knots. After building my tech company from nothing to a multi-million-dollar success, I hoped tonight would finally earn my brother Nathan's respect. Our relationship had been strained since childhood, with him always seeing me as competition rather than family. As I parked in the driveway, I saw his luxury car already there. Taking a deep breath, I reminded myself this dinner was my chance to mend bridges and share my success. I had no idea Nathan was about to stand up and change everything. Before I continue with what happened that fateful night, let me know where you are watching from, and hit like if you have ever been betrayed by a family member. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Boston shaped much of who I am today. My father, Howard, worked in finance, putting in long hours at a prestigious firm downtown. He was strict, traditional, and had clear expectations for his sons. My mother, Diana, was a high school English teacher, warm, but often caught between my father's rigid standards and her son's different personalities. Nathan was 4 years older than me, and from my earliest memories, he was the golden child. My father saw in him the perfect heir to carry on the family name in the financial world. Tall, conventionally handsome, and naturally gifted at mathematics, Nathan seemed designed to fulfill my father's dreams. I was different, more creative, more willing to question established ways of doing things. While Nathan excelled at traditional subjects, I was drawn to computers and technology from an early age. This difference created a rift that grew wider as we aged. "Caden, why can you not be more like your brother?" became a refrain I heard throughout my childhood, usually after Nathan had won another academic award or sports trophy. The competition Nathan felt toward me manifested in small cruelties. When I was 9, I spent weeks working on a science project about solar energy. The night before the fair, I found my carefully constructed model accidentally broken Nathan, claiming he had tripped over it in the dark. At 14, when I coded my first simple game and showed it to my family, Nathan dismissed it as probably copied from somewhere online. These incidents might sound trivial, but they formed a pattern. Nathan couldn't stand to see me succeed on my own terms. If I achieved something, he either diminished it or found a way to claim partial credit. When my computer club won a regional competition with a program I had largely developed, Nathan told relatives he had helped guide me through the process despite having shown zero interest in my work. Our diverging paths became even more apparent when it came time for college. Nathan followed our father's plan, perfectly attending Harvard and majoring in finance. I could still see my father's face beaming with pride at Nathan's graduation, introducing him to colleagues as my son, the Harvard graduate. Nathan secured an internship at a prestigious financial firm before his cap and gown were even put away. I chose MIT for their computer science program against my father's advice to pursue something more stable. While MIT was hardly a disappointment as a school, my father never looked at my choice with the same approval he showed for Nathan's Harvard acceptance letter. To him, I was pursuing a hobby rather than a career. "Computers are just tools, Caden," he would say. "The real money and power is in controlling the finances, not building the gadgets." Nathan embraced our father's philosophy wholeheartedly. He valued stability, prestige, and the established path. His life choices were calculated to minimize risk and maximize status. Meanwhile, I was drawn to innovation, disruption, and the potential to create something entirely new. I was willing to take risks that made my family uncomfortable. The distance between us grew when I announced my plans after graduation. While Nathan had already secured a junior executive position through our father's connections, I told my family I wanted to start my own tech company. "This is exactly the kind of impulsive decision I worried about," my father said during a tense dinner. "You have a perfectly good degree. Use it to get a stable job with benefits." Nathan smirked across the table. "Not everyone has what it takes to succeed in the real business world, Dad. Maybe Caden needs to learn that lesson the hard way." My mother tried to mediate as always. Howard, remember how your father wanted you to become an accountant when you wanted to go into investment banking? Sometimes we need to trust our children's instincts. But the damage was done. I left that dinner knowing I would have to succeed without my family's support or understanding. The gulf between us had never felt wider. After graduation, I threw myself into building my startup. The idea had come to me during my final year at MIT, a secure, intuitive platform that would revolutionize how small businesses handled cybersecurity. In a world where only large corporations could afford proper protection, I wanted to democratize digital safety. The beginning was brutal. I worked out of a tiny apartment, living on ramen and coffee. Every pitch to potential investors ended in rejection. Too specialized, they said. The market is too small. Small businesses won't pay for this. During one particularly low point after my fifth straight investor rejection, I called home. My mother answered, and I could hear the concern in her voice as I explained my struggles. "Maybe it is time to consider what your father suggested," she said gently. "There is no shame in getting experience at an established company first." In the background, I heard Nathan's voice. "Is that Caden? Tell him I know some entry-level positions he might qualify for. Nothing prestigious, but better than failing on his own." I hung up, determined to prove them wrong. The turning point came when I met Jessica at a tech meetup in Cambridge. Brilliant, driven, and with a background in marketing, she saw the potential in my idea immediately. More importantly, she saw ways to improve it and make it viable. "Your technology is solid," she told me, over coffee, after the event, "but you are thinking too small. This is not just for small businesses. This could change how cybersecurity is approached across the entire mid-market sector." With Jessica on board, as co-founder, things began to change. We refined the product, broadened its appeal, and developed a new pitch. Jessica's connections helped us secure a meeting with Alta Vista Ventures, a mid-sized venture capital firm known for taking chances on innovative security solutions. We worked 18-hour days perfecting our presentation and polishing our prototype. When we finally stood before the investment committee, something clicked. They asked tough questions, but I could see the interest in their eyes. 2 weeks later, we had our first funding round, $2 million for a 20% stake in the company. When I called home with the news, my father was surprisingly subdued. "That sounds promising, Caden. Just be careful with that money. Most startups fail within the first year, even with funding." Nathan was more direct when he got on the phone. "Congratulations on convincing someone to gamble on you. Hope you enjoy it before the bubble bursts." Despite their reactions, Jessica and I pushed forward. We hired a small team, secured office space, and launched our product. The response exceeded even our most optimistic projections. Small and medium businesses signed up in droves, and industry publications began to take notice. Within 18 months, our annual recurring revenue hit 8 figures. Then came the acquisition offer that changed everything. TechGuard, one of the largest cybersecurity companies in the world, wanted to buy our technology and bring our team on board. After intense negotiations, Jessica and I agreed to sell a significant portion of our company while retaining leadership roles. My share of the deal, $10 million, with the potential for much more if we hit our integration targets. The morning after the deal closed, I sat in my new office, staring at my bank account balance in disbelief. $10 million. More money than I had ever imagined possessing. My first thought was not about what to buy, but about finally proving to my family that my path had been valid all along. As my success grew, so did Nathan's resentment. He had risen to become chief financial officer at his firm, a prestigious position by any standard. But my sudden wealth and the media attention our acquisition received clearly bothered him. His calls and texts became more frequent always, with thinly veiled questions about my finances and subtle digs about lucky breaks in the tech industry. What I did not know then was that Nathan's perfect life was beginning to crack. His company was facing challenges, and his investment decisions were being questioned. While I was rising, he was struggling to maintain his position. This confluence of my success and his challenges would soon create the perfect storm. It began with a call from my mother one Sunday afternoon, 3 months after the acquisition. "Caden, we are having a special family dinner next Saturday," she said, her voice carrying that forced cheerfulness I recognized from childhood. "Nathan has been promoted to executive vice president, and we want to celebrate as a family." I hesitated. Family gatherings had become increasingly tense affairs, with Nathan often finding ways to belittle my achievements or question my business decisions. Jessica, who had met my family only twice, had already formed strong opinions. "You know how these dinners go," she warned as I considered the invitation. "Last time Nathan spent 30 minutes explaining why tech companies are overvalued and due for a crash while staring directly at you. This time will be different." I insisted, though I was not entirely convinced myself. "I am bringing the paperwork to pay off Mom and Dad's mortgage as a surprise. Even Nathan cannot find a way to make that look bad." Jessica raised an eyebrow. "Do not underestimate him. He has been competing with you since you were in diapers, and now you are winning. That is dangerous." I dismissed her concerns, driven by a deep-seated desire to finally earn my father's approval and repair my relationship with my brother. After years of being the family disappointment, I wanted to return as the prodigal son who had made good on his own terms. I arrived at my parents' colonial-style home an hour before the scheduled dinner time, hoping for some quiet moments with them before Nathan arrived. My mother greeted me with a warm hug, her eyes lighting up as she ushered me inside. "You look wonderful, Caden," she said, squeezing my arm. "Success agrees with you." My father's greeting was more reserved, a firm handshake and a nod. "Good to see you, son. How is the tech business treating you?" Before I could answer, a voice called from the living room. "Caden, get in here and give your sister a hug." Amy, my younger sister by 2 years, had always been my ally in family dynamics. While Nathan and I competed, Amy charted her own course. Becoming a successful graphic designer, she rushed forward to embrace me, whispering, "Brace yourself. Nathan has been insufferable since he heard you were coming." As if summoned by his name, the front door opened, and Nathan entered with his wife, Sophia. At 36, my brother still maintained the athletic build of his college rowing days, now clothed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than my first car. He made a show of checking his Rolex before extending his hand to me. "The tech millionaire graces us with his presence," he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "How is life in the bubble?" "Caden, enjoying it before it pops. Congratulations on your promotion." "Nathan," I replied, ignoring the jab. "Executive VP is impressive." He straightened his tie. "Some of us climb the ladder through hard work, rather than getting lucky with trends." "But thank you." Sophia, elegant in a designer dress, gave me a genuine smile that contrasted with her husband's coolness. "Your company has been getting amazing press, Caden. My brother just implemented your security system at his law firm and loves it." Nathan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Let us not bore everyone with tech talk. Dad, you have to see the new Mercedes. Finally upgraded from the BMW." As Nathan led my father outside to admire his new car, Amy sidled up beside me. "He had to take out a loan for that car," she murmured. "I overheard him telling Dad last week. Things might not be as rosy at work as he pretends." This information surprised me, but before I could respond, my mother announced that dinner was ready. The dining room looked like something from a magazine, with the good china and crystal glasses that only appeared for special occasions. Nathan was positioned at my father's right hand, with Sophia beside him. I sat opposite, with Amy next to me, and my mother at the other end of the table. Throughout the appetizer course, Nathan dominated the conversation, detailing his promotion and the increased responsibilities that came with it. My father nodded approvingly, as Nathan described managing a team of 30 financial analysts and directly reporting to the CEO. The company recognizes talent and loyalty, my father said, raising his glass, to steady progress and wise decisions. When I tried to share news about our company's expansion into international markets, Nathan interrupted with a question about recent tech layoffs in the news. It is concerning how volatile that industry is, he said, cutting into his steak. Here today, gone tomorrow. No stability. Actually, I countered, our growth has been steady and sustainable. We just hired 20 new developers and opened an office in London. Nathan smiled thinly. Burning through that acquisition money already. Bold strategy. As the meal progressed, the tension grew thicker. Whenever I spoke, Nathan would find a way to undermine or question my statements. My father largely sided with Nathan, while my mother tried unsuccessfully to steer the conversation to neutral topics. The breaking point came during dessert, when Sophia, perhaps tired of the underlying hostility, attempted to compliment me again. Caden, I read that profile about you in Tech Innovator magazine. They are calling your security platform revolutionary. Before I could thank her, Nathan set down his fork with a clatter. Revolutionary is just marketing speak for untested, he said sharply. Then turning to Sophia, besides, we agreed not to discuss certain topics tonight. Sophia flushed. I was just making conversation. It is fine, Nathan continued, his voice rising slightly. We all know Caden enjoys having his ego stroked. Tech companies run on hype, after all. Nathan, my mother warned, but he was already standing, reaching for his wine glass. No, Mom, let me say this. Since everyone seems so impressed by my little brother's sudden wealth, let me offer a toast. He raised his glass, his smile tight and dangerous, to Caden, who stumbled into the right industry at the right time and convinced people with more money than sense to throw cash at him. The room fell silent. Amy glared at Nathan while my mother looked distressed. My father's expression remained neutral, neither stopping Nathan nor coming to my defense. You know nothing about what I built, I said quietly. What I know, Nathan continued, his voice dropping to a sneer, is that you are just a failure living off luck. You caught a wave that will eventually crash, while some of us work in industries built on solid ground and actual expertise. In that moment, watching my brother's face contorted with resentment and my father's silent complicity, something broke inside me. Years of seeking approval, of hoping for reconciliation, crumbled away. I stood up, placing my napkin beside my plate. Thank you for dinner, Mom. I think it is time for me to go. Caden, please, my mother began, but Nathan cut her off. Running away as usual, he said. Some things never change. As I walked out, I heard Amy arguing with Nathan and my father, finally speaking up not to defend me, but to call for calm. I drove home in a haze of anger and hurt the envelope containing the mortgage payoff documents still in my jacket pocket, undelivered. The morning after the disastrous dinner, I woke to a series of urgent messages from Jessica. Something was wrong with our company accounts. Large transfers had been initiated overnight, nearly $8 million, moving to accounts we did not recognize. I have already called the bank to try to stop the transfers, Jessica said, when I called her, panic evident in her voice. They said the transactions were authorized using your credentials and security questions. A cold realization washed over me. The only people who would know those security questions are family members. We spent the next several hours working with bank security and our IT team. The investigation revealed that someone had accessed our company's financial systems using my credentials, which had been compromised through my personal email account. The IP address traced back to my parents' neighborhood. Nathan, I whispered the betrayal, cutting deeper than I could have imagined. What we uncovered next made the situation even more disturbing. Not only had nearly $8 million been transferred, but someone had also accessed confidential company documents and investor agreements. The full extent of the breach was still unclear, but the timing and precision of the attack suggested intimate knowledge of our systems and my personal information. Jessica suggested calling the police immediately, but something held me back. Let me confront them first, I said. I need to hear them admit it. I drove to my parents' house that afternoon, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. When I arrived, my mother answered the door, her expression shifting from welcome to concern when she saw my face. "Caden, what is wrong?" "Where is Nathan?" I asked, stepping past her into the foyer. "He is in the study with your father, but Caden, perhaps now is not the best time." I ignored her, striding toward my father's study and throwing open the door. Nathan and my father looked up from the desk where they had been reviewing documents. For a split second, guilt flashed across Nathan's face before his features settled into a mask of calm. $8 million. "Nathan," I said without preamble. "What did you do with it?" My father stood up. "Caden, calm down. Nathan has explained everything to me. He is just trying to help." "Help," I almost laughed. "By stealing from me," Nathan cleared his throat. "I did not steal anything. I protected your assets before you could lose them through inexperience. The tech bubble is bursting, Caden. Companies like yours are folding every day. I moved your money into stable investments under family management." The audacity of his lie stunned me. "You accessed my accounts without permission and transferred funds. That is theft and fraud, Nathan." "Your father gave me access," Nathan replied smoothly. "He was concerned about your spending habits and asked me to review your finances." I turned to my father, disbelief and betrayal washing over me. "Dad, is that true?" My father would not meet my eyes. "You have always been impulsive, Caden. Nathan has experience managing large sums." I interrupted. "So, Mom approved this too." "Your mother does not understand finance," my father said, dismissively. "She did not need to be involved." At that moment, Amy appeared in the doorway, her face flushed with anger. "That is not what happened, and you both know it," she said. "I heard you and Nathan talking last week, Dad. Nathan said his company was investigating him for bad investments, and he needed cash fast to cover his tracks." Nathan's face darkened. "Stay out of this, Amy. You misheard." "I recorded it on my phone," Amy countered, holding up her smartphone. "I knew something was wrong when you kept asking Caden about his security setup and account details during dinner." Nathan lunged for her phone, but I stepped between them. "Do not touch her. You have no idea what you are dealing with," Nathan hissed. "I needed that money temporarily. I was going to replace it once I sorted things out at work." "By stealing from me," I asked incredulously. "By borrowing from family," he corrected, his composure cracking. "Something you would understand if you had any loyalty." "But you have always been selfish, Caden, taking the easy path while I carried the family legacy." My father finally spoke up. "Nathan assured me this was legal, that as family, we had certain rights to protect shared interests." "There are no shared interests," I replied. "It is my company, my money earned through years of work, you dismissed and belittled." Nathan's expression hardened. "If you make this an issue, I will make sure everyone believes you authorized these transfers yourself. I have documentation showing your consent." "Who do you think people will believe? A respected financial executive or a tech kid who got lucky?" I looked between my brother and father, finally seeing clearly the dynamic that had shaped our family for decades. Nathan, the entitled golden child, and my father so invested in the son who reflected his own image that he would justify even theft. "I am calling the police," I said, pulling out my phone. "Caden, wait." My mother called from the hallway, her voice breaking. "We are family. We can solve this without destroying everything." Amy put her hand on my arm. "Do not give up, Caden. Fight for what is yours. I will back you up all the way." In that moment, standing in my childhood home, surrounded by betrayal, I realized that the approval I had sought for so long would never come on terms I could accept. It was time to fight back. The next week passed in a blur of legal consultations and security audits. Jessica connected me with the best financial crimes attorney in Boston, while our company's security team worked to document every aspect of the breach. What we discovered was even worse than I had initially thought. Nathan had not only transferred money, but had attempted to access our intellectual property and client lists. His digital footprints revealed multiple attempts to transfer company ownership shares to himself. The only reason he had failed was that those transactions required dual authentication from both Jessica and me. "Your brother was not just stealing cash," our security consultant explained. "He was trying to take control of your entire company." While the legal team prepared our case, I reached out to our investors and board members, explaining the situation with complete transparency. To my relief, they rallied behind me, with our lead investor, Lawrence Chen, offering both legal resources and personal support. Family betrayal is the deepest cut, Lawrence told me during a private meeting. But remember, how you handle this crisis will define your reputation far more than the crisis itself. With Lawrence's guidance, I devised a strategy that would not only recover my stolen funds, but expose Nathan's actions in a way he could not escape. Our investigation had uncovered that Nathan's promotion was actually a lateral move designed to keep him from direct contact with his firm's major clients. His financial troubles stemmed from a series of unauthorized, high-risk investments he had made with client funds, several of which had failed spectacularly. My brother was not just stealing from me. He was trying to cover up his own professional misconduct before it was discovered. The new car, the expensive watch, the lavish lifestyle were all attempts to maintain appearances while his career crumbled beneath him. Armed with this knowledge, I arranged a meeting at my parents' house, requesting that everyone be present. I also invited Jessica, our attorney, and most crucially, 2 members of our board who had connections to Nathan's firm. Nathan arrived looking confident, clearly believing he still held the upper hand. My father appeared tired and drawn, while my mother seemed confused and distressed by the formal nature of the gathering. Amy sat beside me, a united front against the deception. "I appreciate everyone coming together," I began once we were all seated in the living room. "I wanted to handle this as a family matter first, before it becomes public." Nathan smirked. "Always the dramatist, Caden. What exactly do you think is going to become public?" Rather than answering directly, I nodded to our attorney, who distributed folders to everyone in the room. These documents detail the unauthorized access to my personal and company accounts, including timestamps, IP addresses, and the exact methods used. As Nathan flipped through the pages, I could see the first flicker of uncertainty cross his face. "Additionally," I continued, "we have documented evidence of Nathan's current professional situation, including the disciplinary review he is under at his firm for investment irregularities." My father looked up sharply. "What is he talking about, Nathan?" Nathan's face flushed. "This is absurd. Caden is trying to deflect from his own financial mismanagement by making wild accusations." "The accusations are documented and verified." Jessica interjected her voice, calm but firm. "We have spoken with 3 members of your firm's executive committee who confirmed you are currently under investigation for misappropriation of client funds." The color drained from Nathan's face as he realized the extent of our knowledge. My father looked between us, confusion and dismay evident in his expression. "Is this true?" he asked Nathan. "Are you in trouble at work?" For a moment, Nathan maintained his facade, but as he looked around the room and saw the evidence mounted against him, something seemed to break. His shoulders slumped, and the mask of superiority he had worn for so long cracked open. "You do not understand the pressure," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Always having to be perfect, always having to live up to expectations. When the investment started to fail, I panicked. I just needed time to fix it." "By stealing from me?" I asked. "By borrowing from someone who had more than he deserved." Nathan snapped his composure, shattering completely. "You stumbled into millions while I worked myself to the bone following all the rules. Do you have any idea what that feels like? To watch your little brother, who always took the easy way out, suddenly become the family success story." The raw honesty of his outburst silenced the room. For the first time, I glimpsed the true source of Nathan's resentment, not just jealousy, but fear. Fear that his chosen path, the one our Father had laid out for him, might not lead to the success he had been promised. Fear that his identity as the successful son was being erased by my achievements. My father, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke. "I pushed you too hard," he said to Nathan. "Set standards that were impossible to maintain. But that does not excuse what you have done." He turned to me, his eyes revealing a vulnerability I had never seen before. "And I failed to see your potential, Caden. I was so fixated on the path I understood that I dismissed everything else. I was wrong and I am sorry." His apology, something I had waited decades to hear, should have felt triumphant. Instead, it felt bittersweet, coming as it did, in the wake of such betrayal. "I am not pressing criminal charges," I announced, looking directly at Nathan. "But I have conditions. First, every penny returns to my accounts by the end of the week. Second, you will resign from your position before you can be fired, citing personal reasons. Third, you will seek professional help for whatever drove you to this point." Nathan looked as though he might argue, but then deflated. "And if I refuse, then I let the evidence speak for itself," I replied. "To the police, to your firm, to everyone." In the end, Nathan agreed to my terms. The money was returned, though our relationship was damaged beyond repair. My father, humbled by his role in enabling Nathan's behavior, began the slow process of rebuilding trust with me. My mother, once she understood the full scope of what had happened, was devastated, but relieved that we had found a resolution that did not involve public scandal. As for me and Amy, our bond grew stronger through the ordeal. She eventually joined my company as our creative director, bringing her design talent to our expanding brand. 5 years have passed since that defining confrontation. Our company has grown beyond what Jessica and I ever imagined, expanding internationally and developing new security solutions that protect millions of users. The $10 million that Nathan tried to steal would seem like a small sum compared to our current valuation, but the incident taught me priceless lessons about trust, family, and resilience. The road to healing was not easy. For months after the confrontation, I struggled with anger and betrayal. Therapy helped me process these emotions and understand that Nathan's actions reflected his own insecurities, not my worth. I learned that seeking validation from those unwilling or unable to give, it was a path to continued disappointment. My relationship with my parents transformed into something new. No longer seeking my father's approval, I related to him as an equal, offering forgiveness, but maintaining clear boundaries. My mother, freed from her role as mediator, developed a closer relationship with me, often visiting our offices and taking genuine interest in understanding my work. Nathan and I maintained minimal contact, exchanging obligatory holiday greetings but little else. He found a position at a smaller firm, and according to Amy, has been working with a therapist to address his competitive nature and insecurities. Part of me hopes he finds peace, even if reconciliation between us seems unlikely. The most valuable lesson from this ordeal was learning to define success on my own terms. True success is not measured in dollars or recognition, but in creating something meaningful and maintaining your integrity in the face of challenges. The betrayal that once felt like my greatest loss became the catalyst for my greatest growth. Jessica and I married 2 years ago, building a partnership that extends beyond business to a shared life and values. Together, we established a foundation that helps young entrepreneurs from disadvantaged backgrounds access education and resources to pursue their tech dreams. Sometimes I wonder how different things might have been if my family had supported my vision from the beginning, if Nathan had channeled his competitive nature into collaboration rather than sabotage. But then, I remember that adversity shaped me into who I am today. The struggles made the success sweeter. The betrayal made the loyal relationships more precious. Today, I no longer view myself as a victim of family betrayal, but as someone who survived it and grew stronger because of it. The scars remain, but they have become markers of resilience rather than wounds of resentment. What about you? Have you ever had to redefine your relationship with family after betrayal? Have you found that sometimes the painful experiences teach us the most valuable lessons? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that they too can overcome family betrayal and thrive on their own terms. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, sometimes the family we choose becomes more important than the family we were born into.